Today we decided to show you forgotten, exclusive and unique cars which were found in very unusual places. We're talking about such cars as a Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Bentley and other. 1. 1966 Ferrari 275 GTB. 2. This Ferrari was found in a garage in North California where the car stood for 27 years. The garage was next to an abandoned houses that they decided to demolish. What a surprise to the builders when in the garage they found several expensive rare cars, among which was an exclusive sports car Ferrari 275 GTB2. Average cost of the car at the time of discovery piled a minimum of $3 million. 2. 1967 Shelby Cobra 427 North California garage. In the same garage was also found a very expensive sport car Shelby Cobra 427 model 1967. By the way, after removing 27-year-old dust from the cars, it turned out that the cars are in perfect external condition. Soon after the discovery, the cars were put up for auction. 3. DeLorean DMC-12 North California Forest. In North California, it feels like a cozy alley. Car owners like to throw away or forgotten rare cars in their garages. Not surprisingly, after a number of finds in the area, many American car enthusiasts went there in order to find new findings. And someone was lucky again. Another rare car was found in the usual woods. We're talking about the DeLorean DMC-12, which has merged with nature, covered with leaves and land. It is not known who was the owner of this vehicle and why he left the car in Dean's Forest. Perhaps speed of 88 km per hour has something to do with it. Those who did not understand what we are talking about, then watch Back to the Future. 4. Ferrari 166 MM Barchita. Imagine driving through the desert in Tucson, Arizona and meeting an abandoned Ferrari 166 that has stood in one place for a long time. It's probably never going to happen to you, but it did happen to Michael Lunch, who told you how he found a rare sport car in the desert. A total of 25 such cars were produced. How that car ended up in Arizona desert remained a mystery. Ferrari Enzo, an abandoned sport car in Dubai. Ferrari Enzo is a quite rare car. In total, the Italian company has produced 400 such sports cars. By the way, this model has become one of the most popular among Ferrari cars in the history of the company. Could you believe that the owner of this sports car just gave up on it? But it really happened in Dubai. The owner of this car was accused of fraud. The car was placed in a parking lot as security in the case. But after the case was over, the car owner did not take the car. 6. Jaguar XJ220 Qatar Desert. Jaguar are not always known for their speed capabilities. However, the Jaguar XJ220 is one of the exceptions. You will not believe it, but the top speed of this sport car is 350 km per hour according to the passport. Such speed will put an end to the hair of any motorist. Can you imagine this car was born in early 1990s? Yes, this speed even today seems to be outrageous for many cars, not to mention cars of those years. In the end, the XJ220 was once considered the fastest production car in the world. Not only that, it was a very rare car. A total 275 copies were produced, and it was this rare and exclusive sports car that someone left in the desert of Qatar. 7. Bugatti Veyron, Russia. It turned out that the found abandoned supercars are a very common phenomenon in the world. Here's another example for you. This time the abandoned supercar was a Bugatti Veyron. Its owner abandoned the car on the road after the Aston Martin drove into the back of the sports car. True, the condition of the found car left much to be desired. We think it about have taken a lot of money to rebuild it. 8. Bugatti Veyron. Andy House from Texas bought Bugatti Veyron in October 2009. Just a month later, he and his car were videotaped in a local lake. According to him, he could not cope with the driver because he was distracted by the Pelican. The most amazing thing is that the owner of the sports car did not bother to pull the car out of the lake, but just left it there. The fact is that Andy insured it and planned to get an insurance indemnity of $600,000. But in the end, he was accused of covering up to the accident and leaving the scenes of the accident, as well as polluting the lake. So interested of the indemnity, the owner of Bugatti Veyron got 1 year in prison. 9. Aston Martin DB4, Massachusetts Forests. The Aston Martin DB4 is a rear model. Later it was replaced by DB5 model, but still DB4 is considered an absolute classic. Production of this car began in the late 1950s and continued until 1963. Totally during the time 1,185 cars were produced. The cost of the cars is at least $500,000. What would you say if you saw this car abandoned in the woods? You wouldn't believe it, but a similar find was made in Massachusetts woods. According to some sources, that car has stood there for just under 50 years. Unfortunately, time has done its evil deed. The car was found in bad condition. However, the car was fully restored and sold in auction for $500,000. 10. Bentley Continental GT, Chengdu, China. Abandoned parking lot. You won't believe it, but Chengdu in China has a tree-lined and grassed park with 2 Bentley, 2 Land Rover, 3 Mercedes-Benz and a motorcycle. But that's not all the transport left behind the car owners. According to some report, there are built 200 cars dusting in this abandoned parking lot. The best one among them is the Bentley Continental GT. Most of the cars standing in this strange place appear in criminal cases and for some reason cannot return to their previous owners. Some cars have been abandoned due to some mistakes made during the registration process. 11. Bentley Flying Spur, Qingdao, China. Abandoned parking. There is one interesting car in a abandoned Chinese parking lot. It's a Bentley Flying Spur. As a result, one Bentley Continental GT and another Bentley Flying Spur cost at least 3 million yuan. This is just under 30 million rubles. It is even strange and sad that such expensive luxury cars are standing abandoned in an overgrown park in China. The most amazing thing is that every month new cars appeared in this godforsaken place. Among them are expensive cars. 12. Lamborghini Miura S, New Jersey. This car was found in an abandoned barn in New Jersey. A farmer passing through a cornfield found an abandoned house in the storage room next to it, where he found a Lamborghini Miura S under a huge layer of dust. In the end, the farmer in fact broke the jackpot, as it was a very rare car. 17 cars in total were produced. And as it turned out later, the supercar was in a normal condition. 13. Lotus Esprit, Hong Kong. NS6 Nissan Skyline Evo Silvia Lotus Porsche. These cars should be cherished, carefully guarded and protected. Unfortunately, in Hong Kong, these cars are not paid attention to. In Hong Kong, a parking space may cost as much as renting an apartment in New York or Moscow. As a result, people from time to time refuse their own cars, throwing them right on the sidelines of the city. And the city authorities take abandoned vehicles to landfills, storing cars on top of each other. It's such dumps. Sometimes there are very rare exclusive cars. For example, recently American journalists saw a Lotus Esprit on one of the dump site. 14. BMW M6, Dubai Airport. This car was found in one of Dubai's parking lot. Unfortunately, the car was in bad condition, but this is not the only car that was found by authorities in the airport parking lot. During another inspectors of the parking lot, authorities found ownless Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley and several BMWs. So why the people leave their car in the parking lot? In most cases, for abandoning the cars, it's to lose your job. In the end, people can't afford their own expensive car and threw them in parking lots. It all started with the drop in oil prices a few years ago. The UAE started a protracted financial crisis. Many people lost their jobs. So now people often find expensive cars abandoned in the parking lots in Dubai. One of them was the amazing BMW M6. 15. 100 abandoned cars. Wailing Cave. An abandoned mine. It looks like a movie scene, but it is real. 100 cars from the 1970s were recently discovered in the Valley Case. Yes, the cars were underground in an abandoned mine. It was discovered by researchers who decided to check out Valley Cave. What a surprise they were when they went down into a bent dark mine underground and saw a huge number of cars. 16. 1964 Ford GT40. An abandoned garage. Unavailable, but a fact. Under thin junk in one of the abandoned garages was found a sport car Ford GT40, model 1964. It was a very rare car, which was produced from 1964 to 1969. Totally, 105 cars were produced. 17. Golden Ferrari 308, Dallas, Texas. An abandoned garage. Several prestigious abandoned cars were found in the garage, but one of the most valuable corpse was a supercar Ferrari 308. This is a very rare car, and well, it's a golden exclusive body color. Ferrari produced this model from 1975 to 1985. 18. Austin Haley. eBay found a car stolen 42 years ago. The story exactly matched the famous quote, "Never give up." Robert Russell has first-hand knowledge of the phrase. The fact is, Robert has Austin Haley stolen from him, but the car owner did not accept the loss of his car and set a goal to find it. No matter what it costs or how long it takes, in the end, 42 years later, Robert managed to do the impossible. He found his car. Most of Robert's acquaintances thought that he should never find his car because most likely the hijackers disassembled it for parts, but they were wrong. Russell found his car on eBay 42 years after it was stolen, and the police found out the car stolen in Philadelphia, then went to Los Angeles, where it was sold and changed several owners in 42 years. After the discovery of the missing car in the end, 42 years later, turned to its rightful owner. That's such an amazing story. 19. Ferrari Dyna 246 GTS, found underground in the yard of the house. Back at the late 1970s, Ferrari Dyna was buried underground in the yard of a house in Los Angeles. Workers poured concrete on top of the car and threw it underground. Years after the death of the owners of the car, his children decided to make an outhouse in the yard and stumbled upon a concrete foundation. When they opened it, they saw the roof of the car. What a surprise they were when they realized it was a Ferrari Dyna 246 GTS supercar. When the owner had buried it in the ground was still a mystery, but the almost amazing thing is that after cleaning the car from the ground, it started without any problems. 20. 36 Chevrolet Corvette, car from 1950s to 1980s, and abandoned underground garage in Germany. It is incomprehensible, but this car were abandoned in an underground garage for over 25 years. The discovered Chevrolet Corvette was produced from 1950s to 1980. According to the Daily Mail, the 1953 Corvette is the most valuable car found with an average cost of $500,000, as 300 of these models were produced. 15. Most amazing barn finds. A lot of abandoned cars. Shared finds of barn find from the English barn find are the dream of all car collectors. Agree that finding a brand new car that has stood for many years in some old building is like looking for a treasure trove of jewelry. Today you will see 15 very sad pictures of supercars that have stood for many years in forgotten state. 1. Ferrari Daytona. Daytona is the only Ferrari model with an aluminum body. It was once the fastest car in the world, produced only 1,400 copies. Specifically, this copy was found in an abandoned shed in Japan. It had stood there for over 40 years. This model is a collectible value, so it must have been sold for a fortune after restoration. 2. Lamborghini Miura. Popular car photography Jeremy Clive is credited with taking an amazing photo of this incredible shed find. The photo shows the famous Lamborghini Miura P400S 1967. This model was produced from 1968 to 1971. Totally 338 copies were made. 3. The Lamborghini Countach. Lamborghini produced Countach from 1974 to 1990s. The supercar became a legend and a dream of many car fans. Countach was the very first supercar to try on the Italian wedge design style. Specifically, this Countach was found parked among other exotic cars in Texas garage. 4. Lamborghini Countach. The Texas collection, which was mentioned above, included 3 Lamborghini Countach supercars. This one stood among other exotic retro cars, and its body was painted black. Whoever owned this garage must have been incredibly rich, but the real jackpot was won by whoever bought himself this old warehouse. 5. Jaguar 3.8 E-Type. A rich man bought and gave this Jaguar 3.8 E-Type to his wife in 1970, but practically nobody drove it as its last that day back to 1973-1974, and the mileage does exceed 80,000 kilometers. After the owner died, it was discovered by collectors and restored. 6. 1966 Shelby Cobra 427. Recently, an abandoned garage was found in North California with several exotic cars parked and forgotten in it. The most valuable among them is the Shelby Cobra, which has been idle for over 26 years. This Cobra 427 with its red body and black interior traveled only 30,000 kilometers. 7. Ferrari Testarossa, a whole series of exotic cars which had stood for many years in the open air, was photographed in one of the rich estates in Dubai. Unfortunately, these cars were left here to rot as the hot sun and dust storm typical of Dubai affect the cars very negatively. 8. Lamborghini Diablo. For 11 years of production, Lamborghini has produced only 2,884 supercars Diablo. Diablo is a collector's dream as it has a high resale value of maintained in good working order. However, it hardly concerns this copy which was left right in the pasture next to God's. 9. Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. The Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing has been in isolation for almost 50 years in the some underground storage facility. Mercedes-Benz made only 1,400 copies of the 300 SL between 1954 and 1957. Its cult status has been constantly rising since then. This copy has chassis number 43. After the discovery of the coupe was restored by Mercedes-Benz classic specialists and show at Elmelia Island Concours d'Elegance in Florida in 2019. 10. Lamborghini Miura P400. This is the second Miura in this selection. This is not surprising, as the rarity and value of a supercar among car collectors mean that they are ready to follow it anywhere in the world to get it out of an abandoned garage. This copy was found in Germany after its second owner died in 2015. In this condition, the supercar was auctioned off to RM Sotheby's for $1.6 million. 11. Ferrari F50. Ferrari has only built 349 F50 supercars. Most of them settled in private collections, but this copy was unlucky. It was abandoned in a dump in Nigeria, Africa. Given the rarity of the model, most likely one day it will be bought to Europe or the United States, where some lucky collectors will restore it to perfect condition. 12. Lamborghini Aventador. Due to speeding, the Lamborghini Aventador driver lost control and pulled over, tied up in the gravel. The owner probably had a lot of other exotic cars in his garage and decided to just drop the expensive supercar. 13. Nissan GT-R. At the Tokyo Motor Show in 2007, Nissan showed supercar GT-R, which was faster than the Porsche 911 Turbo. Nürburgring Nordschleife pursued with a lap time of 7 and 38 minutes. Unfortunately, economic problems in Greece in 1213 have forced the owner of the GT-R to abandon it in a deplorable state. 14. Lamborghini Countach. The story of finding this Countach is quite curious. He and another supercar was found by a young girl in her grandmother's garage. They stayed there for about 15 years. Both cars were purchased for rental, but in 1989 the financial situation forced the company to close down. Most of the cars were sold except those two supercars. 15. Ferrari Dyna 246. This green Ferrari Dyna 246 of 1974 is one of the most unusual car finds ever. Its owner Rosendo Cruz buried it in the ground almost immediately after buying this Ferrari in 1974 and reported that it was stolen. He received full compensation from his insurance company. But the car was discovered 4 years later by some guys playing in the garden.
Hello my friends, welcome to my channel, Abandoned Places Around the World.
Hi friends, this episode is about abandoned cars in the United Arab Emirates. On the streets of Dubai you can find abandoned cars under the brand names of Lamborghini, Ferrari, Maserati, Porsche and many luxury sports cars. You ask me, why is this happening? Why people abandon expensive luxury cars? I will explain to you now. The United Arab Emirates is one of the richest countries in the Middle East. Despite the recent financial crisis and falling oil prices, the country's economy remains strong. However, like any other modern countries, the UAE has its own problems, which range from the usual poverty, high cost of living, to the strange and unusual. One of the atypical problems in the UAE, especially in Dubai, is the problem of abandoned luxury cars. A familiar sight in the airport parking lot are dusty, long abandoned sports cars. Mercedes, BMW, Ferraris and Porsches costing tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars are waiting for their owners. Why would anyone give up a perfectly good car? Why do they abandon cars in Dubai? The answer is directly related to Muslim culture. The UAE, like many Arab countries in the Middle East, abides by Sharia laws. According to Sharia law, it is a criminal offense not to pay your debts. Many people took out large loans for expensive cars when the economy was booming. If payments for a car or mortgages are late, the debtors are sent to jail. There are no other options. All of these cars gathering dusts in parking lots throughout the UAE were abandoned by their owners who decided to flee the country instead of going to jail. When the police find an abandoned car, a warning is issued. If the owner does not show up within 15 days, the car will be seized. Subsequently, an auction is held where cars are sold for a fraction of the original cost. On average, police officers in Dubai find about 3,000 abandoned luxury cars each year.
Hi guys, I want to share with you an interesting video about one luxury executive Mercedes S-Class. As you can see, the car is very affected. What do you think the reason of this? And the answer is very simple: the Arab drift and the presence of a lot of money. When a person absolutely doesn't spare damaged his property, so damaged and absolutely no matter. Tomorrow he went, bought a new one, and just abandoned this one. This car is at least old, but very comfortable. There was a time even presidents drove such cars. And now this garbage is simply abandoned in the middle of the dusty streets of Arab Emirates. Good luck and drive carefully. Like and subscribe, and don't forget to click on the bell. Bye. Hello dear subscribers. Walking along the street of United Arab Emirates, I found an abandoned luxurious and very expensive Mercedes-Benz SL65 AMG. Just look at that beauty. It's just a perfect work of art. This little roadster has acceleration to 100 km per hour in 4 seconds. How do you like that? Thanks for watching and waiting for your comments and likes. Have a good day.
Luxury cars, including Rolls-Royce and Lamborghini, have been rusting under the bridge in China for 10 years. Everyone has heard that a lot of supercars, expensive SUVs, and other luxury cars are abandoned in Dubai. But you probably never knew that in China, you can also find abandoned car parks, one of which is located right under the overpass in Beijing. Here, you can find a real exotic pieces, several Rolls-Royces, Bentley and Range Rover. There is also a golden Lamborghini Gallardo Spider. Next to it, there is a bright red Maserati Coupe in some kind of exclusive tuning kit. One Rolls-Royce Platinum also stands out, which has huge wheels, looks like at least 22 inches. The reason why so many expensive cars ended up abandoned on the street are not revealed. Most likely they belong to a company that is currently experiencing hard times. And another version is that these cars were confiscated by the government, for example, for tax evasion. But anyway, we feel sorry for the cars. We have heard that they have been standing there for at least 10 years, which means that it will be very difficult and expensive to return them to the roads. Don't forget to subscribe and like it. Found a field of abandoned Ferrari supercars with a very sad fate. A few dozen rare classic Ferrari supercars and other expensive cars are rusting outdoors in a field somewhere in United States. This is not an extreme museum at all. Who dares to throw away so many valuable cars? This collection was assembled by a certain lawyer whose name is not mentioned. His first exhibits were Chevrolet Corvette, but his tastes eventually crossed the Atlantic and led him to buy at least 20 exotic European cars. Among them were Lamborghini, Lotus, Rolls-Royce, Porsche and Ferrari. A few years later, his collection already included 13 supercars Ferrari from the Mondial and 400i Grand Tourer to 308, 328 and 348 and the legendary Testarossa. But his life was not free from black clouds. In 2011, he was diagnosed with a serious illness that made him unable to drive them anymore, so the entire collection went to a large covered garage of one acquaintance. However, after the lawyer's condition worsened and he could no longer pay rent for storage of cars, the owner of the garage sent the entire collection of rare cars to the field. According to some information, the lawyer later paid the arrears of the payments and the cars were to be returned to the covered garage. But for some reason, some of them remained stored in field. They stood there for many years, exposed to sunlight and rain. What happened to the person to whom these cars belonged is unknown. All we know is that his family could not become full owners of these cars for a long time, until recently, due to the fact that the transfer of the inheritance was delayed by an unspecified trial. Official documents were subsequently discovered confirming that at least 15 vehicles had been stored in the covered garage, including 13 Ferrari and 2 Rolls-Royce cars, but only 11 of them were found. Both Rolls-Royce had disappeared, as had 2 Ferrari. The rest of the cars were sent to a local Ferrari dealer for sale. It is reported that new owners for most of the cars have been found. That is a sad story. Hi friends, in this episode you will see abandoned Lamborghini cars all over the world. There are such models in this collection as Countach, Miura, Gallarda and other exotic sports cars. Lamborghini Cars is an Italian company that manufactures luxury sports cars under the Lamborghini brand, located in the municipality of Santiago Bolognese near Bologna. The company was founded in 1963 by Ferruccio Lamborghini. At that time, he was already the founder of a large company producing tractors. After the founding of the company, Lamborghini owned it for another 9 years. The current owner of the company is Audi. In the early 1960s, Ferruccio Lamborghini owned several companies and could afford to buy expensive cars. At various times, he owned a Mercedes 300 SL, several Maserati 3500 GTs, and a Jaguar E-Type. He also owned a different Ferrari 250 GT. But in every car he found some flaws. There are several versions about the reasons why Lamborghini founded his own company. All these versions boil down to the conflict between Enzo Ferrari, the owner of the Ferrari company, and Ferruccio Lamborghini. The most popular version, told by Ferruccio Lamborghini's son, is that Lamborghini came to the factory to see Enzo Ferrari to complain about the grip quality of his Ferrari 250 GT. Enzo sent Lamborghini back and told him to stick to tractors because Lamborghini does not understand anything about cars and especially about sports cars. Lamborghini returned to his factory, disassembled the drivetrain in his Ferrari 250 GT and found out that many of the parts were manufactured by the same manufacturer as the Lamborghini tractors. In his warehouse, he found a suitable replacement and after assembly the problem was solved. Ferruccio decided that his car would have a V12 engine. This engine was also chosen for economic reasons. Ferruccio recruited the talented engineer Giotto Bizzarini, the owner of the Bizzarini SPA, who had previously developed the V12 for Ferrari, to his project. The prototype Lamborghini 350 GTV was presented to the public at the Turin Auto Show in October 1963. In March 1964, the first production Lamborghini 350 GT was shown. Sales of the production version were very successful. Born under the zodiac of Taurus, Ferruccio Lamborghini decorated the car with the bull logo. The success of the 350 GT was followed by the equally successful Lamborghini 400 GT, which brought enough funds to develop the company's first true gem, the legendary Lamborghini Miura. This prototype of the car was demonstrated by Ferruccio himself in November 1965 at the Turin Auto Show, and already in March 1966 a working version was presented at the Geneva Motor Show. Miura was a great success in 1967 alone. 111 cars were sold, and the company gained popularity around the world. In 1971, Lamborghini surprised the world again with the prototype of the revolutionary new Lamborghini Countach. Although the car itself began production only 3 years later in 1974, until that time it remained the focus of attention at any auto show. The prototype had the newfangled, at the time, vertically opening doors, rear air intakes, and a powerful 4-liter engine. However, in 1972, the company faced a serious crisis. The contract for supplies of the large batch of tractors to South America was interrupted. Lack of funds forced Ferruccio to sell part of his share in tractor production, which was bought by Fiat. Ultimately, the entire tractor production came under the ownership of the same Dodge Far Group, which still produces Lamborghini tractors today. During the 70s, successful sales of the Lamborghini Countach kept the company afloat. Automotive production soon became self-sufficient and profitable, but nevertheless, Lamborghini sold his shares in the company to Swiss investors George Henry Rossetti and René Leimer. Ferruccio Lamborghini died in 1993 at the age of 76. As a result of the 1970s oil crisis, sports car sales plummeted. The company, among others, faced financial problems, supplies of spare parts were disrupted, orders for cars were sold out 2 years in advance, and buyers were very unhappy with this waiting period. As a result, in 1978, the company declared itself bankrupt. An Italian court was forced to sell the company. It was bought by the Mimran brothers from Switzerland. The purchase of the company by Chrysler Corporation was another surprise. At that time, work was underway on the successor of the Countach, the Lamborghini Diablo. Significant technical and financial resources were put in the modernization of the company and the car produced. And the end of the result was another success for the company. The Diablo model very quickly brought the company back to the world level. In 1994, Chrysler Corporation was forced to sell Lamborghini to the Indonesian investment group Megatech due to financial difficulties. For the same reason, financial problems, the company changed ownership again in 1998. This time, Audi AG became the new owner. The new owner again had a major influence on the design of the supercars produced, today's Lamborghini Murcielago.
Hello my friends, welcome to my channel, Abandoned Places Around the World.
Hi friends, in this episode we have abandoned luxury cars and the Bentley brand. In this episode you will see MK6 Bentley, 1955 Bentley S1, Bentley S3, 1961 Bentley S2, Bentley Continental, Bentley Arnage. Now a bit of history of the Bentley company. Bentley Motors Ltd is a British automobile company specializing in the production of luxury cars. Since 1998, it has been part of the German Volkswagen Group. The history of the British auto manufacturer Bentley began on July 10, 1919, when Walter Owen Bentley, together with Frank Burgess and Harry Varley, developed the first car. In 1922, the Bentley cars won the team prize in the Tourist Trophy, and a year later, one of the representatives of this glorious series came to finish line fourth at Le Mans. In late 1930, Bentley released its most prestigious model, the 8L. It became the swan song of the firm as an independent company. 2011 was a successful year for the company. The previous two were unprofitable. In the spring of 2012, the Bentley EXP 9F SUV concept was unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show. On July 23, 2013, Bentley officially confirmed that the SUV will be built in Crewe, England, and sale will start in 2016. The official name for the first productive SUV is the Bentley Bentayga. Estimated cost over 200,000 euros. Some cars can cost up to 600,000 euros. For example, one of the options is a watch, Breitling Tourbillon, in the showroom. The quota of 3,600 vehicles for 2016 was fully sold out in mid-2015. The first 500 vehicles were designed first edition. Queen Elizabeth became the first owner of the first car. Bentley Dominator 1994. Special order from the Sultan of Brunei. 6 Bentley trucks were produced. The cost of each is £3 million. In 2020, it was told about the Mulline Bacalar sports car, which will be only 12 copies. The cost of each will start from £1.5 million. On November 5, 2020, Bentley presented its development strategy for the next 10 years, which aims to reduce environmental damage by producing more technically advanced vehicles. As part of this strategy, Bentley will switch to hybrid and all-electric vehicles by 2026 and will start to produce only all-electric cars by 2030. Nine of the world's most expensive abandoned cars. What fantasy rich motorists do with their cars. Some of them restore the vehicle to a draining stage. Others are turning them to the point of not recognizable. But unfortunately, there are also those who check on their cars how time works. And it is ruthless regardless of the quality of assembly of the car or its cost. An example of this, those photos of 9 expensive ownerless cars from all over the world. Jaguar XJ220, an English model of a sports car that came off a conveyor in 1991, one of the most expensive cars in the history of the automotive industry. The first sports car approved for use on public roads, which is maximum speed 348 km per hour. To the date, collectors are willing to pay $1 million to have such a sports car standing in their garage. But one Arab rich man who says the car is too complicated to drive, so he just left it to the dust in the parking lot. Bentley Arnage, another representative of cars abandoned to their fate. Bentley Arnage exclusive sedan was produced from 1998 to 2009. The flagship model was equipped with a 450 horsepower engine with a volume of 4.4 liters. The poor man rested in one of the industrial areas of Kiev until it was evacuated to the penalty area. According to rumors, the car was just left by the capital businessman. In 2019, the model was put up for auction with a starting price of $25.5 thousand. Dodge Charger Daytona. Another exclusive exhibit peacefully rotting in the barn is the Dodge Daytona. The car that was found in the hayloft is considered a rare model. Its body is painted with original fire tongues. Under the hood is a DFS Magnum 440 for 7.2 liters. Over the history, the car has changed 2 owners, but there is a modest figure on the speedometer of 33,000 kilometers. The found exhibit was sold at an auction for $180,000. Ford GT40. The amazing story of the most legendary car abandoned in a garage took place in the United States. In the late 70s, a fireman from Los Angeles paid $20,000 for a racing car with a faulty engine. It turned out that the last person who was driving this sports car was a saltwater racer. The model shown on the photo was the last car produced in 1966 on the chassis of the P1067. Bolide raced from 1966 to 1977 until the engine broke down. The fireman was unable to fix it, and so the sportsman gradually thrown with junk. Ferrari Enzo, a rare car that should never have fallen into the category of abandoned cars of the world. The Italian company managed to produce only 400 copies of this model, perhaps the most beautiful car produced by the company in honor of its founder Enzo Ferrari. The power unit of the car is V-shaped 12-cylinder at 5,500 RPM. It produces 657 Nm of torque, and at 7,800 RPM it reaches a power peak of 606 horsepower. The exhibit shown on the photo became famous all over the world for the fact that the owner of the truck was just bored. Bugatti Type 57S. The real retro car had the owner to show off, not on the auction stage, but on the garage floor. A very rare car was made to order by a racer who founded a motorsport club. In total, only 17 such cars were produced. The retro car engine developed 175 horsepower. Earl Hove had been driving this car for 18 years. Then the model was taken over by British doctor Harold Carr. He left it in his garage, and no one else saw the car until the doctor died in 2007. A rare car went off the Hummer for £3 million. Jaguar E-Tube. Added to this list of abandoned cars, an elegant E-Tube. At an auction in Britain, a rare sports car of the early 60s is exhibited for $47,000, a small price for a rotten-to-the-bone car. The car was purchased in 1997. The owner apparently planned to restore the rarity, but he didn't succeed. As a result, the machine stood in a raw garage for almost 20 years. The photo is a vivid example of what it means when you only have enough money to buy a car. Ferrari Dino 247 DTS. Luigi Sinetti, a friend of the Italian racer, tried to collect exclusive cars. In his barn, there was also a Ferrari Dino produced in 1974. No one had seen the collection of rare cars for decades. It also includes Ferrari Daytona 72 and Maserati Bore 1977. The 246 GTS, compared to all these three cars, was the best preserved, although it also needed some repairs. Mercedes-Benz 300 SL. The list is completed by another representative of racing cars from the 60s. The Roadster with folding top is the rarest car. It is very interesting for any collector. Only 101 were painted blue in all 1,858 Roadsters produced from 1957 to 1963. For decades, a rare sports car was kept in the wrong condition in one of the garages in Los Angeles. At the auction for this piece, $800,000 is asked for. 12 most incredible car finds. Someone obviously didn't know the value of these rare machines. We know that it is possible to see an abandoned car by the side of the road or in a parking lot. However, is that okay? Certainly not, especially if it is a very rare and expensive car. Many people dreamed of driving an expensive and powerful car, but unfortunately they didn't have enough money to afford it. On the other hand, there are people who are wealthy and can buy rare and expensive supercars. However, for various reasons, many such cars end up abandoned in a parking lot, in a barn or garage, completely covered in dust. One of the most famous places where you can find a lot of expensive forgotten cars is Dubai. The owner of these beastly machines probably broke some laws, so they had to leave the country, leaving behind the true gems of the automotive industry. It's just sad for such powerful machines. Dodge Charger Daytona. The man who found this very rare machine was Charlie Loynes. Specifically, his story of how he became to Dodge Charger Daytona is very interesting. He wanted to buy a 1970 Chevy Chevelle in Glenwood, Alabama. However, when visiting one dealer, he found a very rare 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. Only 503 units have been made in the history, and Loynes was fortunate enough to become the owner of one of that had been forgotten and covered in dust for decades. The man from whom he bought this machine has been the owner since 1974. Later, after the restoration, this 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona was auctioned for a whopping $90,000. Previously, the price was estimated at even greater price of $180,000. 1979 BMW M1. Have you ever heard of Harold Erdl? This man was a car racer but also a motorsport journalist. His name is forever recorded in motorsport history books as the man who managed to set the land speed record. He then drove a 1979 BMW M1 he bought in 1981 with the aim of setting the record. After improving the bodywork and with the help of a 410 horsepower engine, Erdl was able to achieve his goal. Unfortunately, shortly after the world record, this Austrian died in a plane crash. You wonder what happened to the car? Well, the BMW M1 logically ended up in a garage somewhere in England, but was later found. Lamborghini Diablo. Sometimes it really isn't clear why the rich buy expensive cars that end up in a dusty garage, forgotten for years or even decades. One great example is this Lamborghini Diablo, which was found in a garage somewhere in London. This is really sad, considering that one such fantastic performance car has been forgotten. The current auction price for this machine can reach over $600,000. Ferrari F40. It's just heartbreaking when you see any car standing outside but not in the garage. The situation is even worse when it comes to some legendary and powerful machine like this Ferrari F40. Just imagine there are only 1,300 cars in the world and some dude left his own to simply rot. Of particular interest is that the car was manufactured from 1987 to 1992 and was then worth an incredible $400,000. Another thing that matters is that this model is the last to be personally approved by the legendary Enzo Ferrari. These days, the price for the F40 reaches a whopping $3 million. Porsche 911 Carrera 3.0 from Dubai to America, more specifically New Braunfels in Texas. This is where this extremely rare and beastly Porsche 911 Carrera 3.0 was found. There are only 3,687 units in the world, and production ran from 1976 to 1977. Currently, the price for the classic Carrera 3.0 is just over $50,000. Ferrari Daytona. Ferrari 365 GTB4, or better known as Ferrari Daytona, is one of the most iconic cars in the automotive industry. Only 5 units of this powerful car are manufactured with aluminium bodywork. Of those, 4 were designed and used for racing, while the one remaining Ferrari Daytona was the road version. This means that there was no same car in the world, and this one was absolutely unique. It was manufactured in 1969, and the first owner was Luciano Conti, a very close and good friend of the legendary Enzo Ferrari. After him, the car was bought by a Japanese collector named Makoto Takai. This is where the sad fate of this beastly machine begins. The car was completely forgotten for 40 years in a dust-covered garage. Only 2 years ago, in 2017, Daytona saw the light of day again. Later, it was auctioned at a price of a whopping $1.8 million. Nissan Skyline R34 GTR. When it comes to the Nissan Skyline GTR, this car has gained a lot of popularity thanks to the famous Fast and Furious movie franchise, especially in America. Before the famous movie, true fans of sports cars knew that the Skyline GTR was a blistering and beastly car with astonishing performance. Still, this owner in America apparently doesn't know to appreciate it, so he left his one on the street covered in dust. Mercedes AMG CLS 63. The price question: what do you think where this Mercedes AMG CLS 63 is located? Did you say Dubai? If so, congratulations, you are right. Honestly, where else could a fantastic car be left abandoned? More interesting is that the keys are in the ignition. Still, no one wants to have a problem with these cars, since the owner is probably a lawbreaker and a fugitive. Porsche Cayman. Needless to say, but this is a shame. The Porsche Cayman, which was officially revealed in 2005 and which performs better than the legendary 911, has been left to rot. However, it seems to be caused by a traffic accident. Mercedes-Benz CLR McLaren. Is it possible that somewhere in the world there is a beastly machine like this one that arose from the collaboration of the Mercedes-Benz and McLaren and was left to rot? The answer is yes. This place is Czech Republic. This car was seized in police operation and has been parked in there since 2011. An interesting fact is that the total of 2,157 units were produced. Honda NSX. This car doesn't deserve to be left on the street, especially not next to the dumpster. Still, some owner thought this place was appropriate. Fortunately, the body is made of aluminium, so it won't rust. DMC DeLorean. DMC DeLorean was first and foremost popular because it appeared in the famous Back to the Future movie. A total of 8,583 units were produced between 1981 and 1983, and one of those was apparently left in some parking lot. Since we can notice the sand, we believe this one also belonged to someone from Dubai. They found a collection of exclusive cars in the backyards. In the British city of Preston, in an abandoned hangar, a collection of exclusive cars was found, starting with the cars of the early 20th century. The treasure was found by chance. The old hangar was put up for auction and purchased by a developer for demolition. Taking apart the old structure, he, to his amazement, discovered a collection of 135 cars, including the rarest ones. Now the cars will be auctioned off. A collection of 135 old cars was found in an abandoned hangar in Preston, Lancashire country. The current owner, the developer company that bought the hangar for demolition, was astonished at what it turned out to have bought with an old building. There are truly valuable pieces in the collection, including early 20th century cars. Among the cars, there are such famous models as Ford T-Bucket Hot Rod from the 1920s and the Morris Minor from the 1960s, the price of each comes to several tens of thousands of dollars. Rare model Hustler 6 1970s is a four-wheel drive car with the four driving wheels designed by Aston Martin. Ford T-Bucket Hot Rod is a stylish convertible with leather seats from 1920s. The collection mainly presents British and French cars, including a long-time favorite of James Bond, the classic Aston Martin. The ancestor of today's Range Rover models, still popular with CUV enthusiasts, comes from the 1970s. The German car NSU is produced by the company NSU Motorenwerk, founded in 1873 and subsequently transformed into a concern Audi. According to auctioneers, the upcoming auction allows car enthusiasts to buy a real classic car, including models that are rarely seen on the market. Potential owners can bid online. The cars are sold without documents and insurance. The winners of the auction will take over the further registration. The entire collection, including models of the early 20th century, is on sale. The latest models in the collection date back to the 1990s. Basically, these are rare exotic cars. The cars are in decent condition, although many need repair, and some lack a hatch of hood cover. Enthusiasts and fans of old cars have already expressed interest in the auction, although no one has yet guessed the amount of money that will be saved. An abandoned car service with supercars was found in the Dominican Republic. There is a Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and a few BMW M3s. We just can't believe our eyes that a car service full of supercars was found. The reason why a service center that is full of cars turned out to be non-interesting to anyone is unknown. One of the possible explanations is the arrest on the premises and everything inside. It is unlikely that the cars inside are owned by customers. With equal probability, they can be the property of the owner of the service center, or were stolen. By the way, this could be another explanation why the premises with cars is in abandoned state. Among the rows with cars, you can see Lamborghini Countach, Lamborghini Diablo, Porsche 911, Porsche Boxster, Lotus Esprit, and others. German car fans will notice a few BMW M3s, one E30 and two E36s. And next to the yellow Porsche 911 is a red DeLorean DMC-12. The further fate of the cars is unknown. We also cannot claim with 100% guarantee that all these cars are originals and not replicas.
20 strange places where expensive abandoned cars were found. You know that every year a lot of cars are lost in the world, not only because of the activation of hijackers. You will not believe this, but every year thousands of cars on the planet remain abandoned in the parking lot near the airports, in the parking lot near the shopping malls, near medical facilities, and so on. But a lot of cars are left behind in very unexpected places. We have collected 20 strange places on the planet for you where expensive cars were found. This article will not talk about Toyota Camry and Honda Accord forgotten by drunk owners who do not remember